Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Noor Azizah and I'm from class 2020. Now I'd like to present the material about language maintenance and shift in EFL context. So for the first material is about language shift in different communities and migrant minorities. The order of domains in which language shift occurs may differ for different individuals and different groups, but gradually over time the language of the wider society displaces the minority language mother tongue. There are many different social factors which can lead a community to shift from using one language for most purposes to using a different language, or from using two distinct codes in different domains to using different varieties of just one language for their communicative needs. Migrant families provide an obvious example of this process of language shift. Next, non-migrant communities. Language shift is not always the result of migration. Political, economic, and social changes can occur within a community, and this may result in linguistic change too. Language shift is not always the result of migration. For this community, the home is the one most under on any family control. Language may be maintained in more domains than just the home. Migrant majorities. When language shift occurs, it is always shift toward the language of the domain powerful group. A domain group has no incentive to adopt the language of minority. The domain language is associated with status, pres- prestige, and social success. When a language dies gradually, as opposed to all its speakers being wiped out by a mistake or epidemic, and the function of the language are taken over in one domain after another by another. Next is about language death and language loss. With the spread of the majority group language into more and more domains, the number of contexts in which individuals use the ethnic language dimis- diminish. The function of the language are taken over in one domain after another by another language, as the domains in which speakers use the language sink. The speakers of the dying language become gradually less proficient in it, with the spread of a majority group language into more and more domains. The number of contexts in which individuals use the ethnic language diminishes. The stylistic range that people acquire when they use a language in a wider range of domains disappear. Next is about factors contributing to language shift. Factors contributing to language shift. First is economic, social, and political factor. The domain language is associated with the social status and prestige, and obtaining work is the obvious economic reason for learning another language, and obtaining work is the obvious economic reason for learning another language, and the pressure of institutional domains such as school and the media. Second is about demographic factor. Language shift is faster in urban areas than rural. The size of the group is sometimes a critical factor, and intermarriage between groups can accelerate language shift. And the last is about attitudes and values. Language shift is slower among communities where the minority language is highly valued. Therefore, when the language is seen as important symbols of ethnic identity, it's generally maintained longer and vice versa. And the last is about how can a minority language be maintained. These social psychologists suggest that we can predict the likelihood that a language will be maintained by measuring its ethnolinguistic vitality Three components are involved. Firstly, the status of language as indicated by attitude toward, and secondly, the size of the group who use the language and the distribution, concerned or scattered, and the last, the extent to which the language enjoy institutional support. I think that's all from me. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.